Welcome to day 3 of the Democrat shutdown. You've got Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democrats have now voted 3 times to reject the clean, simple, continuing resolution that we passed out of the House 2 weeks ago to keep the government operating for the people. Real pain for real Americans. There's one reason and one reason alone that this fight is being waged right now. They're trying to prove themselves to the Marxist left base of the Democrat Party. Plain and simple.
That's Speaker Johnson updating America's newsroom and all of you on the government shutdown, with pressure mounting on Democrats to end this standoff when the Senate holds another vote in just a few hours to try to reopen the government. He didn't seem too optimistic about it, but we'll see. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
And I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning. Morning to you. As the kids say, let it cook, right? If they don't pass it today, sit over the weekend and see how this feels on Monday and Tuesday of next week. The pressure's only going to grow.
The pain will ratchet up.
Yeah, let it cook. Day 3 in today's vote will be a final opportunity before the weekend when senators head home to face voters. Republicans think the hometown visits could dial up the pressure on battleground Democrats looking for a way out of this.
We have Fox team coverage. Mike Meredith on anxious Democrats struggling to come up with a winning and cohesive message. But first, Chad Pergram on the Hill with the latest. Hi, Chad.
Dana, good morning. We're watching for Democratic defections today. Republicans are daring Democrats to block another attempt to pass a temporary spending bill. It's about the math. The GOP needs 5 Democrats to hit 60 votes and break a filibuster.
I realize that my Democrat colleagues are facing pressure from members of their far-left base, but they're playing a losing game here. A robust majority of American voters are against a government shutdown.
Either the government reopens today or it's closed until next week at least. Republicans will likely target moderate Democrats like Jon Ossoff of Georgia. He faces a tough re-election race next year in a swing state. There's now a PR battle over which party is responsible for the shutdown.
This is the first week of their shutdown, but we've had months of chaos and cruelty unleashed on the American people. And the American people are paying close attention. And they know that it was Donald Trump and Republicans who have shut the government down.
But the Democrats are not only fighting the GOP, they're also fighting each other. Moderate Democrats are blaming progressives for starting the shutdown, but the left is standing by its leaders.
We were in our caucus just so proud of our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, going in there making the case for the people. Democrats are united. We want to quickly reopen government while addressing the Republican health care crisis and lowering health care costs for working families across America.
But Republicans believe Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is calling the shots and applying pressure on Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. He enraged the left in March, helping the GOP avoid a shutdown. Dana?
All right, Chad, we'll see how that goes. Thank you.
So in the meantime, you've got tensions rising on the Hill as the shutdown blame game goes into overdrive. Multiple government websites, including the White House homepage, now displaying messages blaming Democrats for the stalemate. Meanwhile, lawmakers on the left now scrambling to develop a competing strategy. And Mark Meredith's got that part of the story. He's live in Washington as well, where the halls are quiet. Hey, Mark, good morning.
Bill, they sure are. Let it cook, yes, you would say. Politics is perception, and as the White House and Congress battle out over funding, there is another fight underway. Both parties engaged in the blame game for the shutdown. Multiple government websites, including the White House homepage and the site for Housing and Urban Development, now tell Americans the shutdown is, quote, because of the radical left. These types of messages were not widespread during the last shutdown, so this is new. There are reports some Department of Education staffers had their auto email replies changed to reflect the administration's view, and that is prompting some huge outrage from Democrats. We're hearing from Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin, who put out a statement who says this looks like a naked violation of the Hatch Act, which forbids partisan activity in the federal workplace. If any agency had any other previous administration ever used official letterhead to promote their political views, they would have been instantly fired, if not prosecuted. Democrats, they are trying to push back on the messaging front, but as Politico points out, their digital response is just not working. Politico writing, it's not going off without a hitch. In fact, there were many hitches. At times, just a few dozen viewers were watching the Democrats' YouTube stream, making it an almost instant joke amongst Republicans and a source of embarrassment among Democrats.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Oh, Don, we can't hear you. Gen Z is in the house.
Maxwell, it'd be great to.
That's right. And the other thing that I hear is from the providers.
So far in D.C., we've yet to see any major protests pop up, but the longer the shutdown drags on, we can see both parties try to mobilize activists at impacted government sites. Think of airports, national parks. Bill, just a lot up in the air at this point. Let it cook.
True on that. We got a bit of anecdotal evidence on the airports coming up for you right now. Thank you, Mark. Nice to see you.
Yeah, more on this with Kim Strassel. She is a Fox News contributor. I was just seeing online that they're apparently like unofficial, basically kind of like a strike at some New York airports by TSA to protest the government shutdown. And I said to Bill, that only helps President Trump, don't they realize?
And the lines in that video, if legitimate, were considerably long at this time of day.
Axios said this, that keep fighting. Democratic lawmakers squeezed on government shutdown, that progressive grassroots groups are blasting Democrats on speed dial to hold the line in any negotiations to reopen the government. So, Kim, does this go on a while?
Yeah, so this is the thing that I think is the most interesting dynamic, Dana, because if you looked in the beginning, all the pressure was on Chuck Schumer, right? This was a test of whether or not he had backbone. And the way I would have thought that this might have ended is that as you had more votes, progressively more Democrats, especially moderates, would join along, sort of take the heat off of Chuck Schumer. They'd take it instead until you got to that magic number and it opened again. But with these activist groups now making this a litmus test for all the members, it's going to be much tougher for them to jump across the aisle. I would look maybe for a Jeanne Shaheen or a Gary Peters because they're retiring. But if you're a member who wants to run for re-election, the message is being sent. If you vote with Republicans, you will get a primary.
All right. Strange things can happen when you let things go for a couple of days, and we'll see whether or not the effect of that late changes things. AOC, whether she wants to or not, has been placed in the center of this. Here's the reporter's question and her answer. Watch.
One of the things I keep saying is that you want to primary Chuck Schumer in New York. I mean, you haven't answered that question directly.
Yeah, I think the answer is that people are sick of politics being determined by these horse races. We are here to make sure that people can afford their insulin. And we can't allow all of this nonsense to distract us from the fact that starting today, people's premiums are going to be doubling. Nobody cares about some election years from now. They care about if their kids can get insulin and if they can put food on the table. And the more people want to talk about that, the more callous they're being about the realities that everyday Americans are facing.
Okay, so if Speaker Johnson were with us, as he was 35 minutes ago, he'd say the money was there for the next 3 months. We were continuing to negotiate, and you guys closed the door and walked out. Do you believe those who say that the progressive left is the tail wagging the dog here?
Well, it is a tail wagging the dog. And by the way, Bill, I think we can agree AOC loves to be right in the middle of this. And I was laughing listening to that statement because this is a woman who has her job because she picked off a longstanding congressman in a primary in New York. It's why Chuck Schumer is scared that she's going to do a repeat, okay? But I think she makes an interesting point there. If you're going to talk about this, I'm of the view that a lot of Americans, they're not going to remember this shutdown a couple of weeks after it ended. Okay, and they're not going to continue to lay blame on one party or the other. So to me, if I were in the party, I would care more about what the practical outcome of all of this is. She's not necessarily going to get big changes in healthcare the way that she would like, but this is why it's important what Donald Trump is saying. We're going to cut big pieces of the workforce. We're going to cancel dollars for key projects. If that is what ends sitting there on the ground at the end of this, it's not going to be about the political blame. It's going to be what happened practically over the last couple of weeks, and I think Republicans hold a lot more cards when it comes to that.
I believe there were two really important pieces about healthcare policy and the high cost of healthcare that were written by you last night in the Wall Street Journal and Vivek Roy in the Washington Post. Last night, you actually mentioned his piece as well. So I commend those two pieces. Yours is titled The GOP's Obamacare Crossroads. I asked Speaker Johnson about this and said, zooming out, do the Republicans have a vulnerability here on health care policy and people's concerns? He pointed to other things and said, yes, we're on it. But he really pointed to the insurance companies as being the culprits here. I'm not so sure that is true, even though people don't have much love for them. The fundamental rot at the bottom, at the center of these policies is what's causing all of this.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad you came back to him on that, because he basically admitted it to you, Danny. He said, oh, you know, when it comes to insurance more broadly, we have a lot of reforms we need to push through. Note, those have not been pushed through yet, nor do you hear Republicans talking about them a lot. And you're absolutely correct. We're having a discussion right now about whether or not the government's going to continue offsetting some of the costs for some Americans as we go forward and hit this new year with these enhanced subsidies. But that is not addressing the fact that premiums are going up almost everywhere for everyone, whether employer provided or on the Obamacare exchanges. And that's because Obamacare is broken, it's failing, it's causing a lot of unintended consequences, industry consolidation, costly inflated payments. And we need to figure out how to fix Obamacare. If Republicans want a message to push back against Democrats, that's what it needs to be.
Kimberly, thanks for coming on. Good piece in the Journal today, too.
Thanks.
Nice to see you,
Dana.
Kimberly.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.